Welcome to this wonderful edition of the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Senna, aka Alinko. Today is January 23rd, and we are on another edition of this beautiful of this conversation we are about to have today. Pardon us for the background music. Okay, so we are back now. Again, this is the Progressive Mind Show. Here is where we engage and have conversations that are geared to make our communities better. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube. If you come on, you have friends, we know you have loved ones, folks within your network, share this feed with them so we can collectively have these dialogues that are geared to make our societies better. This evening, I have the gentlemen who are behind Obt Social. As you have seen on social media, we want to know what Obt Social is. And so without much ado, I would go straight to the gentleman. One of them was here yesterday, no, not yesterday, last week, to engage with us with Reverend Al. We had a very fruitful discussion. And today we are going to continue with not necessarily where we left off, but we want to know more about, a bit more about their background. Michael, please take a minute to tell us a bit more, just give us a brief background, because there may be folks joining us today that were not here last week, and then Sydney as well. Then we can look at Obt Social, what it is, and how it's going to impact the future. Please go ahead, Michael. You're muted.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting us to the show. Yes. And I am more than happy to talk about Obt Social, what it's all about, what it's for. So to answer your question about my background, for those who may not be familiar with it, I got my first computer when I was 13, and that was in, that was like 1982, somewhere around there. Can't count anymore. But yeah, it was about 1982. Got my hands on my first computer. And then I got my first job working on working a job with computers at AT&T in 1984. And I was a sophomore in high school at the time. And I was working in customer service initially, but then they moved me over to mainframes. And mainframes, that was like, the old type of computer and all that kind of stuff. But they moved me over there because I helped them resolve some issues back then when they were having problems with their servers going down and, the mainframe going down and all that kind of stuff. So long story short, they moved from customer service because I resolved a bunch of issues to the technical side. And that right there started my career in technology at 16 years old in 1984.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so from that point, I kept that job throughout high school and, worked a couple other little jobs here or there, part-time jobs in high school. And once I graduated, I went to work for Quantum Computer Services, and Quantum Computer Services ended up filing bankruptcy. And when they called us back to go to work, they gave us our back pay and said, "Welcome back. But we have something to tell you guys." And we said, "What?" And they said, "Well, we changed the company name. We had to do it when we went through this whole bankruptcy thing." And of course, I didn't care because I was 18 years old at the time. But I said, "What's the name of the company now?" And they said, "America Online." So I was like, fine, so didn't think much about it. And then from there, went to work for UUNet Technologies. And they were pretty much one of the companies that was the foundation of the internet. And I worked there where I learned about web servers, mail servers, news servers, networking, dial-up, the whole 9 yards, you name it. And at that time, I was one of the people that was instrumental in the beta testing for Windows 95 when that all came out. At that point, I knew many of the domains. So you could ask me back then, is this domain available or that domain? I could tell you because I had a lot of them memorized because there wasn't a lot of people really online at that time. So it was a really early period. And I saw what I consider the very beginning of the consumer internet in the United States. And from that point, I helped build these big data centers and what they call exchange points where all the networks converge. So I helped build a lot of that, then went to work for various federal agencies, building out network infrastructure, whether it was wireless, fiber optics, copper, satellite. It pretty much didn't matter. I had the knowledge and background at that point to build out these networks, design and implement them. I received numerous certifications with regards to all these technologies. So that gave me the ability to be able to build out complete telephone infrastructures, whether for a city or a country. I could do that, or internet infrastructure, or even talk about satellite transponder frequencies and things of that nature. I was able to do all of these things. And then also I've trained more than 1,000 telecom engineers on the deployment of high-speed internet. So that was through, that was like Bell Atlantic and GTE and the old 9X and, all these companies before the big merger took place and Verizon became the company. And from that point, it was just doing different projects pretty much wherever, whether it was Bermuda or Canada, so a lot of different places. So it was a lot of experience. And then from that point, I built a few different companies. I had a restaurant delivery service, and this restaurant delivery service was actually in 1992. And I never speak about this, hardly ever at all. But this restaurant delivery service was called Food on the Move. And that was the predecessor to what you see today, when you see Grubhub and DoorDash and all of that. I had contracts with hundreds of restaurants, and we delivered food from these restaurants. And just a quick little story about that, and you'll get more of an understanding of my personality. I did some part-time work for a company called Takeout Taxi at the time. And the owner, I went to him and said, if you do this, this, and this, we could actually improve, customer satisfaction and the speed of delivery. So I kept going to him with ideas. And then one day he said, you know what? He's like, I'm busy. I don't have time to listen to this. If you really want to do something, you ought to consider starting your own. And then I was like, you know what? Great idea. That's what I told him. I'm like, great idea.
Right.
And so I went on and started it. And then as my company grew, the newspapers compared the two. And when they compared the two, mine won hands down when it came to speed of delivery, customer service, and everything else. And it was because I had that technology edge that he did not have at the time. He was using two-way radios. I was using cell phones. And remember, when you talk about like 1992, cell phones were like $1.50 a minute. And, so people always wondered, how in the world did Michael do that with Food on the Move? Because that would be expensive, seeing I had a lot of drivers. And the whole reason why I was able to do it is because when I was building these fantastic networks for these companies, when I went to these cell companies and they wanted me to build networks, I would say, okay, instead of you paying me, say, $150 per hour, because that was like the going rate then at that time for this kind of stuff, I would say, pay me $50 per hour and then put the rest as credits for cell phone minutes. And they would do things like that for me. So I built up a big bucket and then use that in my business to beat the competitors. And, so then I got tired of that because working with a lot of young people, that became a headache. And, so it was, interesting experience. And then from there, the entrepreneurship just kept going. And then I ended up building what you see today. And what you see today is OBT Social, which stands for Our Black Truth. And that was the result of seeing our people continuously censored and mistreated online. Again, my attitude is stop complaining about how Facebook, Instagram, and everybody else treats you, because it's their platforms. They're going to do what they want when they want.
We're going to come to how all of this morphed or came together to your invention or to your creation of OBT. And great story. Thank you for sharing. So you were saying literally that around 92, you had started what what we all know now, which is very which what we all know now in the food delivery system like Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash.
Hmm.
So you were doing this back then in the 90s, early
That's
90s.
correct. Yes.
At the time, what other companies in America were your competitors or were doing something similar to what you were doing?
It was Takeout Taxi, and I believe Waiters on a Run or something like that.
Right.
Those were the only two that I knew of at the time.
And what states did you start this business?
Oh, Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland.
So your services, how were people? Is it comparable to what we have today, or did you literally have to go to the restaurants and then it was obviously more manual? But can you give us a little bit of how the service, how your operations how the operations was done at the time?
Okay. Well, what I did was at the time, and I was really young. I was like 23 years old, somewhere around there, right? What I did was I went to all these restaurants and said, okay, what I want to do is I want to deliver your food for you, and I need you to give me a discount of between 20 to 30% off of the food. So I negotiated that discount. Some restaurants weren't able to give that big of a discount because their margins were small. That's where the service fees came into play.
Okay.
And delivery charges. So we will balance it. And I will create this newspaper with all the restaurants listed in there. I would have thousands and thousands printed every month and have them distributed to people's doors at their homes and businesses. And then they would open up the newspaper, look to see what they want to order. They will call the food into us, Food on the Move, and then we would send that over via fax to the restaurants.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't know what fax machines are unless you're a little older, but that's what we did. The fax machines. And if the line was busy, then we'd have to try to resend it or call the restaurant. And then we would get the food and deliver it. And that's how the process worked.
Beautiful. What was the average time between order and delivery?
I would have to say about 40 minutes.
Right.
And then once, when it was 40 minutes, it was because of the lack of communications between us and the restaurant. Communication wasn't the same back then.
Of course, yeah, it was fax. It's not like today. Yeah.
Right. But Takeout Taxi delivery was about an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. For a distance, for maybe a 2, 3, 4, 5 mile distance order?
Yeah. Yeah. Because we had different geographic regions that we covered from different offices that I had.
And you, how many offices did you have at the time?
Probably, I think, let me think here. 4.
And then you approximately had about how many delivery drivers?
About 90 something.
Was it easier to get delivery drivers then?
It was. The hard part was to get them to work. You can get them, but to get them to work was the problem.
Why was it a problem?
Because there were a lot of kids, and they were like high schoolers, most of them, and then you had some retired people, but most of them were high schoolers. Yeah. And think about this now. I'm sitting here bossing around these high schoolers, and I'm only like 23, 24 myself. So they would look at me and be like, man, you're so young and everything else. And, so that was a little clash every now and then. I said, man, look, you better go ahead and do this, and they would do it.
So you had about 90 drivers. So technically you were running about almost more than 100 cars kind of business.
Right.
And that was at the age of 23.
Right.
Was that the only business you were running at the time?
Actually, man, I've had multiple businesses, but that was the one that was actually really out there.
And okay. And did you have other partners, somebody else helping you with the operations, administrative part of the business?
Yeah, actually, one of my friends, his name was Jeff.
Okay.
And he was a white guy, and me and him, we grew up together and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's funny, that whole situation, because at that time he was more knowledgeable with computers than I was.
Okay. And
now it's flipped, because I would go to him because I was good, but he was just better.
Right.
And so now, whenever he needs something, he's like, Mike, help me with this, and this, right? And I'm like, man, it's funny how it turned around. And see, his parents had a lot of money to buy him all these computers and everything else, so he had that edge. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but he lost it over time because when the playing field is even with us, we typically excel. So that's what we have to do as a whole across the world, level the playing field for our people, and we will take over.
Is it a matter of taking over, or just being competitive, or just being our excellent self? Because we're excellent people. We thrive when the playing field is leveled, like you said. So is it more about taking over, or just being excellent and being competitive, just like everybody else?
Well, for me personally, and I just like to keep it 100, right? For me, it's about taking over.
Why do you want to take over?
Okay, and when I say take over, let me define take over.
There you go.
And that is provide a product or service, right, that no one can compete with or stand against.
Right.
Period. So that's what I consider taking over, where you can't be displaced.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you keep your product way up here, your service way up here. And we have to do that because we can. So that's my whole point right there. We can do it. We just have to focus.
I think that what you're sharing is very revealing and inspiring, because nobody, I don't think this is popular news when it comes to companies that had initiated this food delivery type of business, right? Now, like we know, the big guys, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and DoorDash, they're the main ones in this country. But to know that many years ago, before this company started of it, a black man had started this business and they didn't have a lot of competitors at the time, is very inspiring. And this is a story that we need to know and share. And thank you so much for sharing this. This is Black History Month kind of story. Black History Month kind of information, and we really appreciate. Just like the telephone was invented by a black man in this, right? The helicopter, I heard, was invented. GPS was invented by a black man, but a lot of us don't know this, right?
Right, and just to correct one thing though, like when we talk about cell phone invented by a black man, it was actually one of the chips that go into the phone that was actually invented by us. So without that piece, the phone would not work. But it was actually Martin Cooper with Motorola, a white dude, who actually invented bringing everything together. But without that piece that we created, it'd be an empty box, not working.
Okay. Right. Thanks for the correction, because that is a general information out there. So I really appreciate that. How about and Sydney, I'm coming to you in a second, but there is also this, information on social media that the internet was started by a black man. Michael, you have been in this over 40 years, this industry over 40 years, so to speak. Can you help maybe, can you comment on this?
Yeah, well, actually, I think that is a myth. Because it was like the United States government, like DARPA and ARPANET and all of that kinds of stuff, right? Started with colleges, universities, and the government. So it was a collaborative effort from all these organizations, the government, the schools, and all of that. So that's how the internet came about. But the internet would not be where it is today if it wasn't for a man named Thomas Mensah. He's Ghanaian.
Yes, Ghanaian, yes.
Yes, and he made it so that fiber optic cables could bend and be flexible, and they could be strung along poles without breaking and cracking and all that kinds of stuff, right? Without him, we would not have the internet at the level that we have today, nor will we have the dashboards and stuff that you see in cars, how they're bright and lit up and all that kind of stuff. And any place where there's an application of fiber that bends, he made it so that the price was cheaper. He made it so that it could bend more and all of that, but he never gets any real credit for that. And and he's actually, I saw him 2 years ago when I was in Ghana.
He's in Ghana now, yeah.
Oh yeah, yep. I saw him a couple years ago, and so he's working on a lot of great projects, but he never got the recognition or credit.
No, again, thanks for touching on that. How about this there's also this story that a Nigerian tech guy played a role in the revolutionization of the internet. Okay.
I don't know anything
Okay.
about that.
Okay, we'll defer to that, and then when we have more information, we can discuss that. But to you, Sydney, thanks for patiently waiting on us.
Absolutely.
A bit background about who you are, and then we would dive into OBT social. Sorry.
Yeah. So my background here will probably be a little bit shorter, but similar to how Michael got started, I got started around the same time as well. So I was attending a course when I was it was 8, 9 years old that my mom put me in, and it was really a class for divorced kids because a couple of years prior to that, my mom and dad got divorced, and what in this class, I met a young gentleman. His mom was running the class, and her son, he and I just kind of hit it off. And I remember they took me home, and I spent the night over there at their house. And prior to this, I had been playing Atari. When Pong came out, I had that video game system. So these video game systems, but it never really dawned on me that the people were writing this software. People were building these video game systems out. So this was the first time when I went over their house that I was introduced to a computer, and it was one of the first computers out there. It was a Timex Sinclair 1000. And this was back in the very early 80s. So I'll never forget, I sat down, he taught me how to write, some basic programs. The ones that they would write back then, it was very simple. You print something on a line, and then you go to the front line, and then it would like, it would print that thing down the screen. And I was really mesmerized by being able, understanding that you can actually write software to build video games and all sorts of things. So that next Christmas, I asked for a computer, and I remember my mom and dad got me a Commodore VIC-20, and then the year after that, I asked for a Commodore 64, and pretty much from then it was on. And back then, it was all fairly new, but you could go to stores like Kmart at that time, and you can actually buy books that taught you how to program. So I started writing programs when I was really young, 10, 11 years old, and it was fairly simple to me. I did hit some rough patches there where I didn't understand conceptually how to move beyond those rough patches. But early on, I learned how to program computers, and it's really pretty much been a part of my life ever since. And then as I grew into a teen, I got a little cool and hanging out in the street with my friends and my boys, and doing other things, and I kind of let computers slip a little bit. And then after I graduated high school, and I had some college behind me, I went and worked for a company called EDS, and I really got back into computers a little bit more. I was doing tier 2 support for Microsoft applications, and this was the earlier days of Microsoft. I think we were still on 95 at that time. I'm pretty sure, yeah, we're still on 95 at that time. And I was helping some of the executives, learn how to use applications like Excel or Access, and we were helping with some proprietary applications as well. And around that time, I started developing websites, because I was right around the time that the internet, came out. And there was a real popular group in the area that I'm from, kind of an underground legend now, and I built some things for them on the web. And then myself and one of the members, we moved to California. And when I got to California, I had kind of let go of computers. I was just kind of trying to figure out my way a little bit. I didn't know if computers was going to be the thing that I wanted to really get into, and I actually started to get into some different kind of technologies, more like spiritual technology. So I got trained in a technology called NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, hypnosis, and some other courses that I took at the time to help me better understand how to communicate with myself in order to get myself to produce results, as well as communicate with others in order to help move them forward. Moving forward, I did that work for a while. We had a coaching company that did okay. It did okay, and then right around 2008, when we had the housing crash in the States here, a lot of discretionary money the families had kind of it kind of disappeared a little bit. So those extra services they started to cut out. And so at that time, we decided to close our business. I got back into tech, and when I got back into tech, I was doing more marketing technology. So, a lot of SEO stuff. I was in the earlier days of SEO. I was in it deep. Very comfortable with that technology, and then paid marketing and other types of marketing. And the last probably, I would say 10 years, 10 or 15 years, it's been more in the analytics realm of marketing. And so, just understanding the data that you're creating and how you use that data, how you learn from that data in order to, create more robust marketing campaigns.
Right.
And then also right around the time of the pandemic, I got pretty deep into cryptocurrency or blockchain, more so blockchain. And I was actually working with a company out of Accra, or the woman who started the company was out of Accra. Her name, a good friend of mine, Mercy. We started an organization called WADA, which was the West African Decentralized Alliance. And basically what WADA was looking to do, and still doing today, is building hubs across the continent to teach people this new technology, blockchain. And right now they probably have, I know, at least 10 hubs. And they're doing some really great work. We had a protocol that we were working with. We have developers that we work with. And through those networks, I met a lot of really smart people that I really enjoy working with that are on the continent. And then I'm not sure if you're familiar with ADDI or Dr. Arikana Shihambori Kwao, but she was, I would join her Zoom calls, and there was one Zoom call where Michael presented OBT, and him and his background and my background seemed to be in alignment with each other, and I reached out to him, and the rest is history.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing such a rich background. So, Michael, you can now, take us through the birth of OBT Social.
Okay. Well, look, before I even do that, let me tell you, right? Sydney has been a godsend because, because I had the rough edges, right? And he smoothed those rough edges out. And when you talk about communications, see, I have this thing, right? Sometimes I'll say something, and it's not really the way I wanted to come out. So he'll be like, hold on, man. He's like, say it like this. And, it helps. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So, but like I said, he's like a brother from another mother. That's
absolutely.
That's
No doubt.
But,
we joined at the hip from here.
It's brilliant to hear Black men speak in depth about technology or about to, and we're about to go into OBT Social and the technology behind it, because I think a lot of times we are seen as though, we don't. It is either we don't care about technology or we're just not doing well. All in all, it seemed like a gap between the Black and brown community and IT in general, right? And so, but in your line of work, in your experience over the years, Michael and Sydney, would you say this is maybe a false narrative, and you have perhaps seen a lot of Black and brown folks in the IT world?
Well, let me just say, from my perspective, it's not a false narrative.
Okay.
Because yes, I've seen some brothers and sisters in the IT world, but when I'm in that room, I see nothing but white faces, Chinese faces, Indian, Pakistani. I'm typically one of the only Black people in the room, because one of the things I've seen with our people is that we're great consumers, but we're poor producers. Okay. And that has to change. And see, that's a big problem on this planet for us. So that's my experience. Sydney, what you see?
And the thing is, it's not because we don't have the ability to produce. I think it's a conditioning of the mind, because we have equal ability to produce, create, and consume as everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have. I mean, if we're really going to talk about it, we have a great capacity to produce and create. I mean, everything that we see in the world today, at some level, is a derivative of something that we've created. You know what I
right.
mean?
Okay.
But yeah, I think my experience is a little bit different. I see a lot. I mean, technology, in my opinion, has been the one industry that more black people have gravitated to and more black people feel comfortable with. And I agree with Michael, you do not see those people in the boardrooms, but that's a whole other conversation there. That's not necessarily the technology itself, but you find a lot of these guys, you know, sit at home, you know, sitting behind their machine, you know, kind of playing with the technology, but they don't necessarily get the same opportunities that other people might get, you know, in the corporate world. But I see a lot of people that are in technology now,
Okay.
absolutely, that are black and brown folks.
Fantastic, Michael. Please go ahead.
Yeah, because I do see more than what I used to.
No,
And
I want you to take us back to the story of OBT Social.
Well, the story of OBT Social. First of all, my lady, she said to me years ago, right? This is like, man, like I'm gonna say 2007, somewhere around there. You should consider starting some kind of social media platform. And my response was, I'm not worrying about no social media platforms. And so I just kind of dismissed it, right? So then over time, I've heard about people getting censored and kicked off of social media and all that kinds of stuff. And then, a few people have asked me, hey, you need to start a social media platform. My response was saying, I'm not messing with no social media platform. Social media is a waste of time, effort, and energy. It's just a trap. That's all it is. So then I heard about Minister Farrakhan and some other people getting censored and the whole 9 yards. I'm like, this thing is just getting worse. And then I read the newspapers and how we were taking them to court. Nothing would change, the discrimination and racism and everything else. So that started to, frustrate me and get under my skin. And then I thought about it. I said, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and start some kind of media platform. So I started a platform that would allow content creators to actually monetize their content. And that was actually initially called Tippy TV. And when I was doing that, I did not feel that I was being, I guess, a good steward of my skills and abilities with regards to helping my people. So I kind of pivoted and said, I need a platform that's going to help our people globally. And then that's where OBT Social came from, Our Black Truth.
Okay.
And, so then we took it from there.
Why do you think your partner told you to start one?
Well, just because she knew that social media was going to become big. And
which year was this?
About 2007.
Okay, right. And so she kind of knew that it was going to be a big thing. At the time, what social media platforms were were popular then?
I think it was MySpace. And I really don't know because I really didn't follow social media much at that time.
Okay.
I just understood the technology, but
Yeah.
I just never really followed them.
Yeah, I think MySpace was huge. I don't think that Facebook was even.
Black Planet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Friendster. There was a bunch of them out there. Yeah.
Okay. So
not as popular though.
Right. So she saw the future, and she gave you the hint. Of course, you didn't catch it at the first time. Over years, you caught the vision. And so, what it is that you put together, and how does OBT social work?
Okay. Well, what it is, the first thing I said to myself is, people don't take Black people seriously, especially in technology and these kind of businesses that's more what I consider high end. That's not labor intensive. But I said, I need to make sure that no one on this planet can say that your system is garbage. So our servers, I made sure that we have the same type of servers and same size servers that Facebook, Google, and all the rest of them have. So the biggest servers on the planet that you can buy, that's what we got. Then I said, we need to be in a place where internet connectivity is supreme. So it just happens that I grew up in an area that's considered data center alley. There's more data centers per square mile in that place than any place on the planet. So, which is totally crazy. And this is Loudoun, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. So I was able to get our servers in there because more than 74% of. So when you go and look at OBT Social hardware, you have to walk past Facebook, Microsoft, Zoom, Verizon. We're in the same buildings where they are. So they can't say you guys have garbage, or no one can say, oh, you know how, Black people do it. They have to do it. No, they can't say that. So that was kind of the principle behind the foundation of OBT Social, to make it so that it stands against anything that's out here right now, but it's for us and by us. And that doesn't mean others can't, check it out, but we keep control and we do what's best for our people on these platforms.
So OBT Social is just like Facebook?
Not really, but that's an easy way to describe it. Okay. It has all the features and functionality of Facebook, plus it has other features and functionality that Facebook doesn't have. But it gives us a place to communicate, whereas we can do live streams, video chat, all those kinds of things, posts, videos, audio, documents, the whole 9 yards. But we took it a step further, and we have our own equivalent of YouTube, our own equivalent of Instagram. We have our own equivalent of Zoom. We have all of our own platforms that will eventually replace for us some of these other platforms. And those platforms are being really targeted to the diaspora, but also the continent, to help create that barrier to Google and Facebook taking over. Because if they take over on the continent, they're going to take that money off of the continent and put it into Europe.
How?
We need to keep it local.
How's that? How are they going to take the money over in content? Because they're providing internet, they're providing the social platforms that were not in existence years ago, that Africans are taking advantage of, and which is, of course, helping when it comes to dissemination of information, and even people who are in the social work spaces are using this to promote their work and create more awareness. So how is it a disadvantage to Africans?
Well, it's a big disadvantage in that it's not the technology itself that's a disadvantage, because we need internet technology on the continent.
Right.
The disadvantage comes in with regards to who's building it, who owns it, because we're not building it, we're not owning it. And if you ask any person today, what's the most valuable resource on the planet, they'll probably say oil or gold, but that's not the case. It's actually data. So whoever owns the data, they're the wealthy ones. And African countries have been getting Google, Microsoft, and Facebook to build these networks for them. So who owns that data? Who has access to the data? Those companies. Then you'll see some companies that have black faces, but once you dig down to see who's financing it, they're European companies and banks and stuff like that. So when it comes to business, the person who puts in the most money owns the business. That's the way it works. So people are overlooking that right now. So what I foresee happening is they're going to make it so that they grab all this data from all these African people. They're making all this money through advertisements and the whole 9 yards. They're going to erase the culture of Africans because everything they put in there is westernized. And social media is a behavioral modification tool, period. That's what social media is. It's a behavioral modification tool. And whoever runs it and owns it, they can change the behavior of an entire nation. And we've seen that. So that's the danger when you have Westerners controlling that, and you know what their attitude has been in the past. Where there's money and valuable resources, they want it, they will take it, they will manipulate, they will kill to get it. And these companies and all the rest might say, oh, that's not us. But if you look at their descendants, not descendants, but their ancestors, a lot of them partake in the Berlin Conference to carve up Africa. They're from those countries, those nations. And no other nation allows companies to come in and build their network infrastructure. Okay. Africa is one of the only places on the planet that will allow other nations to come in and build their network infrastructure. And that is a national security issue.
Sydney, I'll let you comment in a bit. But Michael, what stage is the OBT social platform as we speak?
What stage? It's full ready out there, so there's nothing else that we have to do. So if you ask me what stage it's finished, just like how Facebook and all the rest are finished.
Okay.
And we just do regular updates.
Okay. And you said your headquarters is located. Is there a physical location for, or this is virtual?
Yeah, actually physical locations, because the hardware is actually centered in Ashburn, Virginia.
Okay.
And then office space in Columbia, Maryland.
Okay. You mentioned something about the positioning of the brand. Now, I don't know if that's what you meant, or you meant physical location of OBT social structure, because you were talking about situating it by Google, Facebook, and all of that. What can you clarify that point?
Oh, okay. Well, so for example, the servers are in Ashburn, Virginia, right? And they're in a building.
Okay.
And this building is where you have hundreds of companies. You have like Comcast, Xfinity, Verizon, all the companies you can possibly think of that connects to the internet. They're all in that campus, in that building area.
Gotcha.
So they all connect into a central system so that they can hand off data to one another. And when you hand off data like that, when you're in that building, your data is fast. It's more secure and all of that. So we're right there in the mix with those guys, with
Fantastic.
with the Verizons and Xfinities and all of that.
Great. So Sydney, how many subscribers does OBT Social have now, and what is the target? Would you say that you've met your target as we speak?
And let me jump in with the answer to too, because when it comes to our numbers, I don't like giving out our numbers because we got a whole bunch of troll spies and all the rest of them, but Sydney can answer the rest of them.
Yeah, so I mean, when you say and yeah, absolutely, that's something that we don't typically share. But as far as
before you go on, just want to clarify that you are the vice president of marketing for OBT Social.
That is correct.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah. So as far as hitting our numbers go, I mean, we have a ways to go because we're competing with some very mature platforms, and people are used to them, and they have their content and their information in the platform. So we have to have a unique selling proposition that we have to get across to people. And like Michael was saying, one of the most important things that people have to understand is that the people that are controlling your data don't necessarily have your best interest in mind. And I don't know how many times it has to happen, to people who look like us, where we're building out our communities, we're creating things, content, whatever it might be, and for people to come in and want to control the types of things that we're creating. So we're looking at the future. We're just getting started. We have a convergence of technologies, that we'll see in a great degree. I mean, it's already started, last year with the release of ChatGPT. There's a bunch of other technologies that are starting to mature. And like Michael said, the most important, most valuable, asset that people can hold today is data. So as people of African descent, if I can say it that way, you know what I mean? We have to understand where we are in relationship to the rest of the world. And I know there was a question that you asked earlier about, why are we where we are, and what do we need to do? And I think from my perspective, we just need to know who we are. We are not. We are more than Westerners. We have our own ways of thinking about the world. I grew up in a Western nation, but I also understand that there's more to descendants of Africa that needs to be realized and revealed. And these are the types of things that we're looking to do with OBT Social. There's a brilliance in our community that we want to have control of, so that we can push that value back into our community. Right now, there are other communities that are controlling our brilliance, and they're the ones that are benefiting from that. So, it's a wake up time for us. We gotta get clear that there's more to us than what other people have said. We have to control our own narrative. We have to tell our own stories, and we have to, put ourselves into the future.
Thanks so much for sharing this. You're watching the Progressive Mind Show here in the beautiful city of Chicago. It's 45 minutes past 6 p.m. Central, and we are talking to Michael Thompson, who is the president and chair of Obt Social. He's also the former VP of Verizon, has over 40 years of experience in technology. And then next to him is his vice president of marketing, Obt Social, Sydney Nicholas. And we are discussing what it is, what was this platform, and the reason behind its creation, and where it wants to take its brand and its work and the impact it wants to have, not just Black people here in the diaspora, but on the continent. And if you just joined us, they've given us a great background of themselves, their work, and a bit more about Obt Social. We're about to dive more into it. If you want to ring in and share your opinion or ask a question, the number is 815-277-5047, 855-277-5047. And before we okay, there's this information I wanted to share, but I'll let Sydney continue with this point. Like the page once you're on. You can share it with friends and family members, so we can all be part of this community building agenda. Sydney, how can somebody sign on to Obt? Actually, before I ask that question, what makes it, and I know Michael may have touched on it, but I think it's very significant that I ask again, what makes it more important and needed? What makes Obt more important and unique from social, from the ones that we already have? Because we were here, TikTok wasn't here, it was social media. I mean, Facebook, then Instagram, then Snapchat, and then TikTok came and is taking over. So, what makes Obt more unique, and why haven't we seen that speed that this other social media platform had grown in the past?
Yeah, I think there's a different they're focused on something different. Like, we're focused on, this being, almost the nervous system for our community, and it's not exclusive. Anybody can join, but we need to have a place that we can have conversations that we have, because we talk about things that are not necessarily relevant to other people, and in some cases that can make them feel uncomfortable. I mean, there's so much going on, across the entire world now. I mean, here in the country that we're in, they're restricting our rights. They're in a sense deleting our history when they say that young people cannot learn, the true history of America, as it stands today, because it might make some people feel uncomfortable. So it's much deeper than just a digital platform, that people can use. This is something that we can, have control of, so that we can make sure that we can continue to communicate and continue to drive our own narrative, in the future. And I'm sure that there are a lot of your listeners who know who Wodomaya is. Wodomaya is a very popular YouTuber. He does great content. I mean, he seems like the nicest guy in the world. And I think he was banned from YouTube for like, what was it, like a month or two, where he started to put his content on Facebook. So help me understand, what flags, may have presented themselves in order to ban the type of content that Wodomaya is doing. And what people don't understand is that that's going to happen more often in the future. And also keep in mind, these are private networks. You know what I mean? So the people who run these networks can do whatever it is that they want to do with these networks. So these are not our networks. These are owned by these private companies that run these networks. And you may love Mark Zuckerberg, you know what I mean? You may, love some of these, folks out here that have created these platforms, but you have to understand that they have their own interests and intentions, and in most cases they are not necessarily aligned with ours. So it's not trying to take them down or anything like that. It's just like we have things that are important to us to share about our community, and we should have a network to be able to share those things on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for breaking it down. Some would also, I think one would also wonder, again, how you can join social. Is there any way you can demonstrate? I mean, is that an app? Can you share your screen? Because we want to know how, if somebody wants to sign up, how do you go about it? Is it a regular, just like you downloaded the Facebook app, you go on Google, the App Store, whatever, Google Play Store, download the app, and then you just sign in and just start using it just like you would do Facebook, right?
Absolutely, it's just
Okay.
that simple. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and it's obt.social, or you can get the app off the Android store. We're not in the Apple store because of the terms of their agreement, and again, them wanting to take things that don't necessarily belong to them, or too much of something that doesn't belong to them. But you can definitely get the app off the Android store. It's OBT Social. That's pretty simple. And then also, if you want to visit in your browser, you can just go to obt.social. There's an image and a sign up, and you sign up and you're in.
Can you show us? Can you show us the right image on your phone? Can anyone demonstrate it so that because sometimes when you download this stuff, you can have a whole bunch of similar things coming up, right?
And look, and before we go there, let me say this right now. Sydney, see, he ain't going to details, so I'm going to say it. When it comes to Apple, right, they want 30% of any transaction that takes place on the app, and they do this with any in-purchase type of situation that's on an app. So I figured if a person is on our platform and someone leaves them a tip for, say, $1, Apple gets 30 cents off of that dollar right off the top. And that is crazy. So what we've decided to do was we decided to bypass all of that by making our app available on the website itself. So once you go to your phone and you open up your browser and you go to obt.social and you create an account, then there's a place where it says install app. You install the app, but it's not from the Google Play Store. Right. It's actually from our server. Okay. Because Google, they charge as well. And then we have a progressive web app for iOS, and it allows you to do the same thing. So we're skirting around it while Apple, they're in court fighting big companies over that 30% tax that they have. So gotcha. I just want to explain that.
Got you. Has any of those big social media platforms approached you guys to buy this from you?
Nope. And the thing is, we're keeping it low key, but see, we've had people wanting to invest money. Okay. And when I say invest money, like north of $100 million kind of thing. Right. But the problem is they don't look like us. And remember earlier when I said, whoever puts the money in, they control. Right. So we're keeping it, within our community, and we have it so that people in our community can invest into OBT Social. So we're keeping it like that for right now until we grow, and then we'll see where we're going to go from that point. But yeah, so none of the big companies have approached us, and I would not even sell to one of the big companies. So that's right off the top. And this is not a money thing. This is more of our people thing. So it's just all about growing it and keeping it, and it stays in our community. So that's the plan.
So you're saying that no amount of money is going to make you sell this?
Nope. No amount of money can make me sell it. And I can tell you why that is too. And because people always say, why are you so just laid back and chill with regards to, investment and things like that? You allow people to invest. It's because I'm confident in my skills. I have a million other ideas that if I want to make $100 million, I'll start this other idea and sell it to them. But not anything that's the lifeline of our people. Technology, data, and communications is a lifeline. And when something goes bad here, again, in the United States, like the whole George Floyd thing and all that, and people are up in arms, Facebook is going to censor them. YouTube is going to censor them. Where will they have to go to talk? OBT Social will be right here, because that's coming, especially with this year of the 2024 elections. Censorship is about to kick into full swing. I've been reading all the documentation from Google and all the rest of them. It's about to get bad. So, so we're in a good position.
So you're saying that the most unique thing about anybody wanting to switch or even have, in addition to the social media platforms, OBT Social, is the fact that you are not censored regardless of the content you want to put out there.
You're censored only if you put derogatory stuff out there, like nude women. We don't need that on the platform. Or if you're glorifying violence and drugs and all that, that's not going to go on this platform. That will get you censored. We'll tell you go back to Facebook with that.
Okay.
And absolutely mean it. But anything that's going to be uplifting, help out people, or just fun and entertaining, absolutely, it's all welcome.
Okay. And that's not the only uniqueness of the platform either. You know what I mean? That's a very that's a very important selling point. But you can do things on the platforms that you can't do on the other platforms. Like for instance, on YouTube, I can start a YouTube channel. I can make really great content, and then some of that content I can put a paywall on. So if you want to watch a video, you have to pay $1 in order to watch that video. And you know, once you pay the $1, you know, which there's a mechanism for you to be able to get your money into the system, then you can watch that video. So and then on the OBT Social, you know, there you can tip people for, you know, their posts, their comments, and then there's some other features there as well. So it's very feature rich and it's different. I mean, Michael uses, you know, and I do as well, use Facebook and YouTube as comparables because people are using them. You know what I mean? They have something to compare it to. But they're feature rich. They have additional features that these other networks don't have. And keep in mind that Facebook and YouTube and every other, you know, app out there, you know, it's not the features of the app, it's the content on the app that draws people to the app, right? So we're looking at supporting, you know, by having this be applications that cater to like our community. We're looking to support our community, and we know what happens, you know, when our community gets a hold of these applications. I mean, we do all sorts of things, and I'm gonna use an example because it's just a great example. A lot of people know what it is, but the brawl that happened in Alabama, and it's not just the brawl itself, right? It's what people did with it after it occurred. You know what I mean? It's like all of the different ways that they grabbed that content and turned it into something like brand new. And that happens in our community, you know, quite a bit. So what we're looking to do is draw those content creators, you know, into our community because they're going to be able to benefit in a way by being on our applications that you can't benefit on YouTube or Facebook.
Fantastic. Is this app kids friendly? In that, is there a cutoff age and so forth?
Well, right now it's 13 years old.
Okay.
Is like the minimum age. And see, the way that we have the system structured, we really don't want to have like, you know, really young kids on there because people, they can speak the truth and the truth can be still harsh. You know what I mean? And a young person may not know exactly how to interpret some of these things. You know, so yeah, we prefer to have, you know, older people, but yeah, it starts at 13.
Now, some also, thank you for the response. Some would also say that data protection, of course, we've seen Facebook owner Mark Zuckerberg answering questions at Congress regarding issues of data breach and all of that. How safe would people's data how safe will or are people's data on your platform?
Okay, well, let me just start by saying this, right? First of all that stuff that you heard about Facebook and their data issues, all that for the most part revolves around them selling and giving away data to third parties.
Okay.
That's what they were doing. So they can make more money or position themselves in a better place. But see, we don't do that. First of all, we don't use any algorithms to force stuff to you. We let it go organically. So when you're talking about data protection and all that, we implement the same level of security that Facebook and all the rest of them do. You know, it's monitored continuously. Again, we use the same type of servers and firewall and software that they do for their data protection. So when it comes down to it, across the board, I would have to say it's all even when it comes to data protection. It's about the policies around that data that makes a difference. And we're not giving away data, we're not selling data, and we're not trying to modify your behavior in a negative way through algorithms.
Fantastic. Did you want to add anything to that, Sydney?
No, I mean, I mean, that's right on point.
Okay.
What Facebook has been trying to do is something, that the government is not comfortable with. So that's one of the reasons they were called into Congress.
Okay. Thank you. So, as the head of marketing at OBT Social, um, of course, you will not. I mean, we're not asking you to divulge all your marketing strategies, but how has the campaign and the word going out into the communities or to your target audience? How has it been going so far? Are people receiving it? Do you see the enthusiasm growing here in the diaspora? And what are the plans to slowly integrate into the continent of Africa?
Yeah. So yeah, as as I mentioned a little earlier, it's really about content. It's about content. The reason that you have grandmothers, maybe in their 70s and 80s on Facebook is not because they like the technology. It's because their daughters and sons posted pictures of their children. You know what I mean? So it's really about the content. So what we're looking to do is attract content creators, and I've reached out to some content creators. The Wotomayas, the EVA. There's a bunch of content creators that are out on YouTube and some of the other networks that we're looking to bring onto our network, because we know that that's what it's really about. It's not necessarily about how great our technology is, which it is great, but it's really about what when you come to our platforms, like what
Mm,
kind of content can you consume. and and
mm,
and we're very deliberate about at least from the corporate standpoint, the kind of content that we want to draw onto the platform, which is this content that helps to bring a higher awareness to the relationship between the continent and the diaspora, as well as intergenerational relationships. So the relationship between the folks who Dr. Al, Reverend Al, that came
right.
through,
Uh-huh.
and the children that he needs to pass the torch on to. So these are the types of things that happen in other communities that we haven't been able to create a vehicle for in our own community. So we're just helping to facilitate that right now. Right now, it's really about the content that we're trying to bring on, the type of people that we're trying to get on to the platform, and the type of conversations that we want to have, again, to make sure that we're placing ourselves into the future.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. It's 3 minutes past 7 p.m. Central. We're about to wrap this conversation up. So if you want to ask a question or ask question, call in just to say hello to this brilliant gentlemen who are working very hard to change the narrative for Black people when it comes to social media. Please feel free to do so on the number 815 277 5047, 815 277 5047. And I wanted to share their website with you. But while I do that, Sydney, did you say why the Maya? I know why the Maya very well. He's Ghanaian, phenomenal
Mhm.
guy. You say his platform has been taken off YouTube because I know he hit $1 million subscription last year, right?
I think it was October, November, or may have been September, October. But yeah, he was his platform was taken off YouTube for a period of time, and he started
Really?
doing his Yeah, he started doing his videos on Facebook. They have since then, I believe, reinstated his account. But
Okay.
you like who Wotomaya is, what he
Yeah.
does, and the value of his platform, and the
Yes.
value to him that's created from the platform.
Yes.
So yeah. Mhm.
Wow. Wow. So okay. So I'm assuming he's back now doing his thing um on Facebook. Okay, I hope that is actually the case for him. And I want to give me a second. I'm trying to um share, see if I can find this here. I don't know if you all can see.
Oh yeah, we can see.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. So my system is, let me see if I can is, do you see it scrolling up or
Yes, it is scrolling up, and
Mhm.
if yeah. Mhm.
Okay, fantastic. I just wanted to show our viewers that here is the website per what they were saying. You can go as you scroll down here. I think I saw. Okay, there's a YouTube display of what it is.
Yeah,
It says that,
and Senna,
oh,
just so you know,
yeah.
this is the corporate site. So this talks about OBT Social.
Okay.
But if you want to come onto the platform, you want to go to obt.social.
OBT.social. Okay. Now, even on the OBT, the corporate platform, I see a tab that says download.
Mhm.
Could that take you to? Okay. So when I hit download, I don't know if you guys see it on my screen.
Yep,
Yeah,
we
that's
see it on your screen.
right there.
Mhm.
So it says you can download the Android and the iPhone app. Now, are these accurate?
Well, no, it's not accurate because it's outdated. Because we have so many platforms, the corporate is the last to get updated.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
So
but we expect people to go to obt.social to
okay.
download the app, or hbcc.social to download the app.
Okay. So OBT.social, right? Or
And
OBT.
just so you know, making a note.
Okay. So we want to see if we can get that OBT.social.
Mhm.
Okay. And that should be the.
See, here's what the app looks like on my phone.
Oh, okay. So here it's asking you to create an account.
Yeah, you have to create an account, but once you
Okay.
create an account, you can download an app like what I'm showing right now.
Okay. Right.
And
Let me put you on like that. Okay.
yeah, so you can kind of see,
Okay.
people posting things all day today, and
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
All right. And earlier in your presentation, correct me if I'm wrong, you said you can watch YouTube while you are on there, and it doesn't direct you to YouTube. I mean, sorry, you can watch movies on there while you're on the app.
Well, we have a movie capability on the app itself, but we don't have any movies because, of course, you have to do licensing. And we're not trying to become like a Netflix or anything,
Uh-huh.
but we do have that capability of showing movies and all that kind of stuff. But our main platform for video is actually called HBCC, and that's where you can upload videos and charge for them, like pay-per-view or a monthly subscription or weekly subscription.
So
So
if I have an account on OBT Social, I can upload videos on there. Like it doesn't matter what videos, or it doesn't matter how long the videos are. I can just
actually, it does matter how long it is,
okay.
because OBT Social is designed for short videos, like say 200 megabytes, for example.
Okay.
But we expect you to use HBCC if you have longer form videos.
Okay.
So say, for example, a 15-minute video might be 200 megabytes.
Okay.
But if it's going to be longer than that, use HBCC. That way you have more control. You can upload like up to 5 gigs, and it's more of a monetization system for videos because that's what it's focused on.
Okay. And if you say uploading videos, must it only be your personal content, or you can say, I watched the movie, maybe I watched a skit on YouTube, it's interesting, you can just pick it and upload it up there?
Yeah, what you do is you just copy the link and just paste it into OBT Social or HBCC, and it automatically pulls it over.
Okay, and then it stays under your accounts. If somebody wants to, as the more people view it, do you get paid for it just like Facebook is doing now, or your platform gives people the option to, you said tip, or just give you $1 for posting such an interesting video on your page and entertaining them?
Right. So basically, the content creator, they will select how much they want to charge, subscription or per view. They will come up with that price. We don't pay people for viewing the videos yet because, see, that comes from the ad revenue. And we're looking at other ways to generate revenue, because when you talk about ad revenue, the advertisers then control the platform. Because again, whoever pays the money controls the platform. So the advertisers, they will say, we want you to do A, B, and C. We want this information. And that's why YouTube and Facebook gives it up, because if they don't, then the advertisers will stop paying them money and go elsewhere.
Fantastic. So as it stands, you don't want to share the number of subscribers yet. Okay. Well, but so I think that it's 7:10, and we would, try and wrap up. Now, gentlemen, I think we've looked at OBT Social. Thank you for coming to give us more insight to the social platform, and we're hoping that it would achieve the goals that you've set it out for, and make the impact that we are expecting. Anything else that we need to know about OBT Social that we haven't touched on so far, Sydney?
Yeah, I think what's important to understand is that we do have an app called OBT Social, but OBT Social is a family of applications. So we have several applications. Some of them are still in beta, not in production yet. So I think that's something that's really important to understand. And I know we didn't talk about HBCC on here, which is a very powerful app that I recommend people are checking out. It's got great content on HBCC.
Can you say HBCC?
Yep, it's hbcc.social, which stands for Historically Black Content Creators. And there's a lot of really great content. So that's, again, as a comparable, it's like YouTube, but there are different features that are offered on our platform. And again, we're constantly thinking of ways, that we might be able to benefit our community, through the applications that are being built. So there are, some that we've talked about that are not, in development yet. And then we have several that are in beta right now. So when you think of OBT Social, don't think of just this one app that you can go to that's, kind of similar to Facebook, but more so think about we are building an infrastructure for our community to be able to, shape our narrative, communicate with each other, and make sure that, moving in the future, that we have a network that is controlled by us, so that we can make sure that our messages are always available to our people.
Fantastic. Before Michael gives us his closing remarks, I would like to engage. I'd like to remind our audience that we have been talking about Israel and the Black Church for some time. This event is happening on the 1st of February. Israel, basically working out or looking at the relationship between the nation Israel and the Black Church. This event is going to take place again on the 1st of February at Pastor Steve Munsey's church out here in Indiana, very close to Chicago, of course. The address is Family Christian Center, 340 West 45th Street, Munster, Indiana, zip code 46321. I'll take this again. The address to the February 1st event coming off at Family Christian Center, headed by Pastor Steve Munsey, in regards to Israel and the Black Church, a much needed conversation, is going to take place again on the 1st of February. The time is at 1 p.m. It goes all the way to 6 p.m. There's going to be a panel discussion of very relevant and important keynote speakers. Preachers all over are coming. African preachers are going to be there as well. And so this promises to be a very intriguing and a necessary conversation. So if you want to check it out, please mark it on your calendar, 1st of February, 1 p.m. through 6 p.m. at the Family Christian Center. Address is 340 West 45th Street, Munster, Indiana, 46321 zip code. If you miss anything, just type Family Christian Center and mark on your date, February 1st, 1 p.m. at this church. You are going to be hearing opposing views, ideas on when it comes to Israel and the Black Church. Is there a relationship? What has been the relationship? Is the relationship meaningful? What is the future looking like? There are a lot of questions that we are asking. The reason why this becomes also very important is that most Black people across the globe if a lot of black people, let me put this, a lot of black people across the globe are either Christians or Muslims, but I know of a lot of Christians, and Christians pray to the God of Israel. And so in these days and these times, what does all of this mean? And so this is a very, very needed and important conversation. We know that Congressman Daniel Davis will be there, and a lot of very important dignitaries, preachers will be there. So again, feel free to mark this day on your calendar, February 1st, which is coming very soon. I think in a week or two. No, two in not this coming week, but the following one. And it's going to be a Thursday, 1 p.m. through 6 p.m. There's going to be some refreshment as well. And this event is being put together by the Shiloh Institute. The Shiloh Institute, headed by founded and led by Christina King, Pastor Steve Muncie's Ministries, and the Zion Global Ministries. So the Shiloh Institute, Steve Muncie Ministries, and Zion Global Ministries coming together to present Israel and the Black Church, a much needed conversation. On this note, I'd like to go to Michael to give us his closing remarks. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so basically with regards to my, I guess, closing remarks, I just want everyone to know that OBT Social is all about making sure that we take responsibility for informing and teaching our people. Again, we want to make sure that our history stays intact and that the truth be told. Just like you see some of the posts that we have on the platform, we do some fact checking to make sure that the information that we're passing to one another is factual, and we post things to actually help to teach. And we need each and every person out here that is interested in seeing our people do better to join the platform. So you can do this by going to obt.social, obt.social. And if you're interested in videos, we have thousands of videos at hbcc.social, hbcc.social. That stands for Historically Black Content Creators. So the way to make this thing work is to support OBT Social. So thank you so much, for inviting us today.
Thank you so much, Michael Thompson, founder and chair of OBT Social. Sydney Nicholas Sydney Nicholas is the vice president of marketing for OBT Social. Gentlemen, I'm very proud of the work you have done so far to even have this vision. We didn't talk about challenges because you all didn't seem like there's any challenge at all. Hey, we got this under wraps. So.
Oh no, there's challenges, and the challenges come dealing with our own people are some of the biggest challenges, really.
Why? Because they don't want to accept it, and why don't they want to accept it?
A lot of our people talk, but they don't act.
Okay.
They sit there and just expect everything to come to them, but they just don't want to act or support anything, that's to benefit them. Right. And the Western way of thinking has caused so much damage.
Okay.
So that's a lot of what I personally see. That's just my opinion. Okay. But, it holds true, I believe. But let me tell you this, too. We get non-Black people, like I said, those investments come from a lot of non-Black people. Okay. Trying to get Black people with that kind of money to invest, never happened.
Never happens. And we do have a ton of billionaires around. A few in this country, a ton of them on the continent, a few millionaires. Hopefully, as we keep working and putting the diaspora together business-wise, we can make some of these connections. And that is why June 20th, 21st, and 22nd is very important with the exchange ceremony, because we're having a business meeting, and hopefully, as we bring these African businesses here to match with you or to look at opportunities here in America, somebody may hear your story and be like, look, this is something I can put some money in, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're looking forward to it. So it sounds like the challenges is more about the investor side, not people signing up, because that seemed to be good. Is that okay? Is that correct?
No, actually, it's both. We have a nice number of people signing up. But the problem is getting a regular person, like say if you're a Pan-African person to sign up like that, no ifs, ands, buts about it, no problem. But your regular, typical Facebook user, that likes all the ignorance that's on there,
Right.
it's a much harder sell.
Right.
But it will come with the content, but we're not going to have the same kind of content.
Okay.
The fun stuff can't be some of the fun that they have on Facebook. Like, you know what I mean? It can be fun, but cleaner fun.
Cleaner fun. I like that. Wow. Okay. I think that this concept, you know, I know that you all have strategies, and you do want to talk about the marketing strategies, and I'm sure that as you keep at it, you will see the success and the growth that you're looking for. And thank you all, gentlemen, for once again coming on the show and sharing your vision with us. We hope that we can all work collectively to promote this so you can succeed in your endeavors. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for being part of this episode of the Progressive Mind Show. Here is where we build our communities through dialogue. Remember to keep saving that date, 22nd of June. The exchange ceremony is coming up again, our 4th annual. The king is coming. We have some royals coming from Ghana. This year promises to be yet another fantastic and interesting, fun, connectivity, celebratory, and of course, a platform where we can heal as there are people that have been separated for so many years. So this is where we come together collectively to celebrate our cultures together and to show our kids how rich our culture and our heritage is. So please mark June 22nd here in Chicago. The exchange ceremony is coming forth. Now, without much ado, I want to say thank you once again for being on the show. Remember, to whom much is given, much is required. I have been the host this evening, and we shall see you sometime next week, Tuesday. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Right.